Doctors start to learn more about COVID and its transmission. The CDC is recognizing that the way we live with it has to change too. They've just issued new recommendations that seem to indicate there is no need for people to stay home unnecessarily. But as always, with a close eye on safety. Dr. Andrew Myers is a doctor of internal medicine at Tampa General and associate professor at USF's College of Medicine. Good morning, Dr. Myers. Thanks for being with us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me, Laura.
And thanks for being with us. Okay, so quarantine times lessening from 10 days to 5 now. That seems like good news, right?
Yeah, it's good news. Obviously, with the shortened time period, you want to make sure that you're able to get tested and make sure that you're negative, and most importantly, you don't have symptoms anymore. But like you said, we don't want people to be home unnecessarily, especially when we already are shorthanded in a lot of places.
Right, and the shortened window is just for those who are asymptomatic, though, right? Positive cases, but
Correct.
asymptomatic.
Asymptomatic, people that never really had any symptoms and definitely don't have symptoms now. That's really important because we want to make sure that we don't continue the spread unnecessarily, but we don't want people that maybe tested positive and never really had any symptoms to have to be at home for 10 days.
This might seem like a silly question, but when do you start counting the days for the quarantine? Is it after the last cough? Is it after the last fever?
Yeah, that's an excellent question. So if you're asymptomatic, then you're counting from when you've had the positive test. If you're symptomatic, then you start from when you first started having symptoms. And obviously, if you test positive and have symptoms later, you should start from when you start having symptoms.
Okay, so if you're quarantining, you've got 5 days now, even if you're positive, after the diagnosis, right?
5 days after the diagnosis.
I gotcha.
Importantly, if you start having symptoms in that 5 days, then you need to restart the window, and it would be a 10-day window because you're now having symptoms.
Right. Okay. So now it does become the 10 days. When are you most contagious? We've heard a lot about this. What we've been able to learn so far.
Yeah, that's a great question. We don't completely know at this point, but it does seem that you're most contagious, and this is why we're shortening the time period at the very beginning. So even right before you have symptoms or when your symptoms are the worst, which makes sense thinking about it physiologically. Your body's at its worst, fighting the hardest. When you're having the most symptoms is when you're probably the most contagious. Once your body has it more under control, then you should be less and less contagious.
Right, yeah, but sometimes you have it and you don't realize it quite yet. We're running out of time, but I did want to get to this question too. What about family members who have been exposed but test negative? Should they be quarantining too?
So that's kind of on a case-by-case basis. Depends on, it's hard to get into the details. If you have a really close contact, if it's someone that you're around all the time,
right, if you live in their house, right,
then you probably want to quarantine or talk with a medical professional about kind of risk stratifying. If it's someone that you met in passing or someone at work that you don't see as much, then you probably don't need to quarantine at all.
All right. Well, thanks for at least a little bit of help us understand these new CDC directives. They come out so often, but this one does feel like a step in the right direction, I will say.
Yeah, hopefully we can all get back to work a little bit sooner.
All right. Dr. Myers, thanks so much for being with us. Have a good rest of the day.
Thank you, Laura.